All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to a programming challenge. It's been a while, but today we're going to be looking at something a little new. It's going to be PowerShell scripting, and we're going to just create in essence, we're going to be creating a module, and we'll be experimenting with how PowerShell works, the language of PowerShell, and some of the cool things that we can do with it. So I'll start by opening up my screen, and you'll notice that there's a README file in here that essentially just goes through a bit of the installation for PowerShell. On Windows, I believe it's already installed, but there's also this this cool tool here called Terminal or Windows Terminal that really allows you to do a lot of cool things with PowerShell. But there is also I know there's also PowerShell ISE. I forget. I think that's what it's called, which gives you more of a bit of an IDE with PowerShell, and you'll have a list of functions and whatnot that you can use. So PowerShell is just kind of an enhanced terminal. So if you have a bunch of different types of things. So there's the command prompt, which you can do a lot in. You can do pretty much anything in. And then PowerShell kind of takes that to a more programmatic, or it makes just programming a little more simple, a little more intuitive than the command prompt. But you can also use it as a command prompt, because I believe all of the command, I'm not sure how to say this. All of the command prompt commands work here. So if I were to say something like echo hello, I'd get hello, which is pretty cool. But this README just goes through the installation and then goes through how to install the module. But we'll get started with creating our first. We'll get started with creating a script. So there's an install script, and the purpose of this install script is going to be to take our module, which is also represented as a script. So a module has the extension PSM1, and a script just has the extension PS1. PS1 just means, or a script means that you just run it whenever you want. A module is something that you can import into your session. So for example, if I wanted to import module, I guess I don't have anything here. It's going to go searching for it, isn't it? But we can essentially take a module, and this module can have functions that we export to PowerShell that we can then use. So for example, one module that you may be familiar with, that you've probably seen in a couple of videos before, is PoshGit. So if I say get module right now, we can see that I have PoshGit installed or imported right now, and PoshGit gives me access to this. So PoshGit just adds on this little tag for Git repositories here, and then it also gives you access to a bunch of other functions. And we can I'm going to try and find this. So cd .. So you can actually see where PoshGit gets imported, because if you'll notice, as soon as I open up a session, it gets automatically imported. So I can just say get module, and it's automatically imported without me having to do anything. And the way this happens is through something called a profile. So you'll also notice that, or I guess there's nothing here, but I don't have a profile right now. So I have, if you go to this path here, so if you'll find your profile by saying echo profile. It's an environment variable, and this will give you where your profile would be stored. So if I were to go to this directory and then do a little bit of an ls, I'll see that my profile is right here, PS1. So if I open up code in here, yes, I trust those authors. Microsoft PowerShell, my profile imports PoshGit by default. So whenever I start up PowerShell, it loads in this profile which imports PoshGit. I can also add something cool like echo hello world, something like that. And then if I were to open up a new PowerShell session, you would see that it would print out hello world. So you can, this is just your entry profile pretty much. On some, I guess on another terminal that or on my laptop, when I've used it, it gives me like a time of how long it took to load in a profile. It doesn't seem to be doing that here. Not sure why. But regardless, we're going to be, we want to echo this PoshGet here. So we want to create a module, and you can see that PoshGet has a lot of code. So there's so many commands. We're not going to go through PoshGet because it's a massive, it's not a massive thing, but it's a pretty big thing. And you'll see, and if you do go through modules that you can install, there's stuff like functions that you'll see, and you'll wonder, well, how can I work with that? And we will be creating our own functions. So we essentially want to make a module that we can use in our program, and then we want to import it. But we're going to start with a little bit of a script. So we have, let's say I'm just going to create a very basic function here that we want to import, or export rather. Just so I can demonstrate how this works, and then we'll go through scripting, and then we'll create some more complicated functions. So if I had function test print, and it looks kind of a little bit like JavaScript, a little bit like other things, but I can just put in actual PowerShell commands. So something like echo, this is from test print, like so. And then, so now in my module, I'm in my module file right now, utils.psm1. If I want to export this so that it can be called from PowerShell, I just say export module member dash function test print. So this takes my member, the function, and exports it to the console. So I'm going to go to my directory now, so cd source slash YT challenges 34. And you can see that I have utils.psm1 in my directory right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import dash module. I know it's at the bottom of the screen. I'll just do a CLS so you guys can see this. But so import dash module dot slash utils.psm1. I'm going to hit enter, and nothing gets output. But if I were to call my function test print, I would get the function, the output of the function. This is from test print, which is very nice. I might want to do this without all this PoshGet stuff in the way. So give me 2 seconds to drag this to a separate directory, just so I don't have to, because it really just blows up my console. Let's see, how can I do this? Here. That's not right. I'm looking for my other. Here we go. Source. Here we go. Open with code. Yes, I trust the authors. Okay. Now we're back. So I put it in a new directory. And I'm going to go to that directory. CD34. So you can see that I still have my utils.psm1 here. That's the module. And if I still were to call test print, you would see that it still has it because it loaded in the module that I just wrote, not the local one, but the one in the previous directory. Now, if I made a change, like for example, if I wanted this test print to now point to the new utils.psm1, the one in my new directory. So for example, if I went here and I want to say test print 2, I want to echo test print 2. If I'm still calling test print, it's going to have the previous version of it. So what we need to do is we need to remove the module. So remove -module utils. And the reason why I knew the name utils was get module, and it'll give you the name. So if I were to say import module now, ./utils.psm1, and then I say get module, I can see that utils is one of the modules that we have imported, which is very nice. So if I were to call test print 2, which is nice. By the way, the same thing goes for if I were to modify this script even though I have it imported. Like if I were to say test print 3, I would have to re-import the module. So if I were to remove the module and then import it again and then call test print, I now get the updated output. But you need, every time you make a change, you need to remove the module, then re-import it. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. So quick note. Let's just create a new PowerShell session. Still have Hello World up there. I don't want to. This module isn't really much unless it gets imported to my Windows PowerShell directory along with the other modules like PoshGit. So I essentially want to. I just want to be able to make it easy for a user to say, all right, I want to download this module, and then I just want it to automatically be downloaded into the modules directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a script to install this. And we're going to start by just getting a module name, and this will be an introduction into how PowerShell scripting works. And we'll see a bunch of syntax and a bunch of weird things, a bunch of conditions, but this will kind of lay the basis for how we write our modules, just with adding functions. So in install.ps1, this is script. We're going to have a variable called module name, and we're just going to call it yt-utils, like so. This module name actually must match the file name there, so I'll just call it utils for now. So we're first going to want to copy this to the modules directory, and we're going to, again, the first time we found that was using the environment variable profile. So echo profile, and that gave us the directory here. So we essentially want to find this profile so that we can copy it there. So we're going to have a get profile, and the way we first want to determine, all right, does the profile exist? Because sometimes someone will delete their documents profile, and it'll just go away, but we can't determine that. So what we need to do is we need to test if the path exists. And there's, lucky for us, there's a function in PowerShell called test path. So we're going to have a conditional here. So the syntax for this is just if, then in parentheses you put your condition. And the command to determine if if our profile exists is just test-path, and then you give the string. So I can say dot true, because the current directory does exist. I can say test path profile, and it says true as well, because that returns a Boolean. So we're going to say if test-path profile, and this variable profile is automatically imported, or it's automatically set in all PowerShell sessions. Now, this isn't it, because we'd want to create the profile. So we can say if and then just have an empty condition, then do else, and then create the directory here. But again, that's not proper code. So what we should do instead is use our not, or our conditional operators. So we say -not, and then put the condition in the parentheses that we want to invert. So if test path does not exist, then we want to create it. So we're going to say new item, which is a PowerShell command. We're going to specify the path, so -path profile. So we're just going to create the file along with all the directories in that path if they exist, or we will create them if they do not exist. So this will create. So profile consists of users, Michael, documents, Windows PowerShell, Microsoft.PowerShell profile. So it's going to create users, Michael, documents, Windows PowerShell, only if they do not exist. But if they do exist already, then it's not going to create the directories. So we're going to say new item dash path profile to specify the path. Type is going to be a file, and then we're going to say dash force. And then we're just going to print out echo profile exists at profile. Sorry, give me 2 seconds to grab something. I just had to grab a pillow because my chair was creaking. Okay. So if we were to do this now, and if we were in our directory, so 34 ls, and the way to run this script, this install script, is just to say /install, choose the name. So you can see the output is profile exists at this point. And if it did not exist, then it would create the item, create the file with this command. So we now want to make the directory for our module. So if you can see, the structure of the module that for PoshGit is that there's the modules directory. No, not that. How do I reveal this? I don't even know. I'll open this up actually, and you know what, let me just open this up on the terminal. That's a good idea. All right, so we're in our PowerShell directory. I do ls, and you can see that we have the PowerShell profile as we saw before. Then we have a modules and a scripts folder. We want to create a new module, so we say cd modules, and then in the modules directory, we have all of our modules. Right now I just have PoshGit. So if I were to enter PoshGit and then do an ls, what's up with this? Name one, oh, I guess it's in another directory, 1.1.0 ls, and there are all the script files. So there's a name, then a version. But you can see that there's a poshgit.psm1, which is what we're going to have to match our name with. So if our module name is utils, then we need to say utils.psm1 and our name is utils, right? So module name up here. So we're now going to create the module directory. So we're going to first get we're going to construct the name. So we're going to have a directory variable here, and we're going to start it off with, so you can just set a variable value using the $sign to reference the variable, and then the name, and set it equal to, and the beauty of PowerShell scripting is that we can use commands to output to a variable. So we're going to say get -item profile, and we're going to use the environment variable there. So get -item just gets the values, or the object represented by the profile path here. And after this, so we have this little, oops, how do I end? There we go. So if I were to run this command in PowerShell, you would see that I get this file object. I get what directory it's under, and then I get the value of the file that I wanted. I don't want the file, I want the directory, because I want to create a nested directory. So we're going to say get item profile dot directory, but that's not enough, dot full name. So let's go through this progressively. So if we have in parentheses get dash item profile dot directory, I'm still going to get an object. It's just the Windows PowerShell directory object. So I want to do this dot full name, and then I would get the path up to it. If I were to say dot name, that wouldn't be enough because I would just get the relative name, the name of the directory. I want the full path to it, which is given by full name. Okay. Aha, there we go. Okay, so this time that wasn't my fault. The past couple of videos I've accidentally turned off my computer a bunch of the time, but this was not my fault. This happened because of Streamlabs. I don't know what happened, but something happened. But we were at here. So we had the directory and we're getting the full name as it. So this is a string. And we now want to just create the nested path. So we say directory plus equals, it's just a variable, you can do the same. Directory plus equals, and in a string, backslash modules, backslash module name. So this variable is the one we set up here, and you can inject it right there, and it doesn't make a difference. So if I were to go echo dir to print out what we have right now, so where am I at? Clear dot slash install. So we see profile exists, and then we have our output directory, which is documents, Windows, PowerShell, modules, utils, which is precisely what we want. God damn it. I'm gonna record this. I probably should be doing that regardless, but YouTube isn't getting my stuff. Let me just make sure things are okay in Streamlabs. Yeah, it looks right. Okay, I'm just going to keep recording it, and if something is the problem, then I will upload the recording. But we got the directory. So we have the directory as our module directory that we want to create. So we're at the target. Now, we want to create this directory because it doesn't exist. So if dash not, then we're going to do the exact same thing. If it doesn't exist, then we create it. So if dash not test path, this time using directory as our item to test. And if that does not exist, we're going to say new item, new dash item, dash path. And this time the variable or the path to create is dir, our local variable, dash item type, directory. So we're going to create this directory here. And then we can now say echo module directory exists at dir, like so. Cool. Dash destination, or can I'm wondering, I'm gonna try and experiment if I can just do a /* because you'll probably need everything in there, but it's pause that for a second. I'm not sure what's going on. Stream is healthy. All right, we'll go on that for a second. Oh, I think it was just the output from the new item. Not really sure how to make that silent, but that's that. Okay. So we have copied the module, and that we're half of the way there. We now don't, so if we were to open up a new PowerShell session, and I wanted to say something like import dash mod, or I want to say get dash module, and still not imported, and then I want to import it. So import dash module utils, it's going to give me utils module. I'm not even in the modules directory or where I was writing the code. This is now just recognized globally because it's in the profile directory. So if I were to say get module, we can see utils exists in there. And then if I were to call the test, we called it test print without a dash. I get out, this is from test print 3. So we have this imported, and we don't even need to be in the directory. So we're halfway there. We now want to essentially put this in. We want to put that import module command into the profile. So we want it to be imported automatically. And the way to do that is we essentially need to use PowerShell to append to that startup profile file. And we're going to do that with a couple more commands, of course. So automatically import profile on startup. This is our new section here. And we are just going to use the command add dash content dash path profile. So add content appends a file. We give it the path as the profile variable. The value is then going to be, we're going to create this as a variable. So import is equal to import dash module and then the module name. So we're going to add the content dash path profile, and then the value to add is just the import statement. So the local variable that we have. So if I were to run the install script now, where am I? Here? Nope. Here. /install. So we see profile exists, module exists, and then if I go into my directory here, we see that import module utils is now in the script, or in our profile script. So if I were to open up a new tab and try running test print, it would automatically be imported. And if I say get module, I can see that utils is automatically imported, which is great. So that's that. End of the video. Not end of the video, because we're still going to write our module. The one thing to note here is that if I keep running /install like that, we would hope that it wouldn't add import module utils 10 times like it did. So we want to just add a guard here to make sure that if it's already imported, then we don't want to necessarily do that. So add posh get to profile has here we go. So if test, check if the location is in there. If test path, here we go. So then we're going to get the content of the profile. So that is just a string here. Then we want to say dash like, which is a comparison operator. And if it's not like, then we give it a comparison. So now let's go. Funny thing is, there's already, I get myself a nice big old GUID. And if we're done C#, this is C#. You can use C# in PowerShell, which is amazing. Be this system, because I know you can do this. I know for a fact that you can do this. You can take a C# namespace, surround it in square brackets like that. So square bracket not. You can do it in the console, which is awesome, without even compiling it. So you can use, I've used Python as a desktop calculator for a long time. Like if you just add Python for a lot of reasons, It's nice for little stuff, but Python's just, I don't like it. It's the principle of it. But let's get back to our module. If you want me to talk about Python, I can at some point, but not right now. So we have function GUID. Let's also have function date. And remember, it's system.datetime_offset : now.toString. And then I want to say export -module member -function date. And I'm just going to echo that in my usage function here. All right, so that's the second function. Let's do a random $n. Let's say it has a default value of 12. Just like that. So we then want to create a string that is 12 characters long that is just composed of random uppercase characters. So join 97.122. And we're going to route this range into using the pipe operator here. And we're going to get random, and we want to get n characters from that string. So -count, passing in our n variable, so this one here. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to pipe this into a formatter. So %, and all we're going to do is just say character, the conversion of $_, which just means take the character of, so take the argument. So $_ says take the argument. I can actually just test exactly what $_ is just by this with an echo. But so we take our range 97.122, pass that, pipe that into get random, and we're getting n random numbers. So get random produces a list, and we're going to pipe get n random elements, and then we have the character conversion of that. So let's start with let's just see what happens when we have our range here. So 38 to 46, you get the list element here. So you get that, and it's inclusive as well, which is important to note. So if I were to say get random, say 2 of those, so I'm going to pipe this range into get random. It just gets me 1 random element. Now if I wanted to get 3 random elements, -count 3, pipe all our range here. Let me actually just do a CLS first. So we have our range 38 to 46 gets piped into get random, where we get 3 different characters. Then I'm going to format them using the %, and if I were to do that, hold on, no, I don't want to do that. Format them, and then the format specification is just the character conversion. So character in square brackets, again, we're going into C#, and it's just typecast at this point. Does that not work? I might need to surround this with parentheses. Nope. I don't even know what's up with this. Oh, I know. There we go. All right. So we have our range again. And we get 3 random characters, and then pipe that into this formatter, and we get 3 different characters. And they're separated into a list. Now, if I want to join them, I just need to precede this with -join. And it'll put them together. So we're essentially just using a much larger range, a concatenated range with a bunch more numbers to generate our random string, which is very nice. So you can see that how all of this is just methodical. And so we start with the ranges here, and then we pipe them into get random, and then pipe that into character. So if I were to remove module utils, import module, utils psm1, what's wrong? Specify because no valid module file. Get module my specified module is not loaded because no valid module file was run. Oh, is there something with how I wrote this? Let me try just putting it back in one command and see if that helps at all. Okay, so I think it was just because I put it on different lines. So we have psm1, and then if I say usage, we can see that random string is there. I manually added that. But let's call random string, and we have our random password. Let's get another one. And even better, let's put it on the clipboard so you guys don't see my password. So it's now on the clipboard, and if I hit paste, it gives us that, which is very fun. So that's a random string. Now let's do some base 64 action. So we're going to start with a new function. So function b64 encode, and we're going to have a parameter section, and it's going to be a string str. So string str. So we're going to start. So essentially, we're going to break this down into multiple steps. So base 64, I'm not going to go into what it is because that would be a whole nother video. But essentially, we need to convert our string, our list of characters, our string, into a bunch of bytes, and then I want to select certain parts of those bytes to make a base 64 string. So we're going to start by getting the bytes. So we're going to create a local variable, bytes is equal to, and this is a C# module, system.text.encoding, UTF-8, so this is a static member of the encoding class, .get bytes string. So let's try and see what this does on just a normal string. So I'm in console, or I'm in PowerShell, paste hello, and you can see that it exports the numbers. It exports the character codes of our characters here. So UTF-8.getBytes. And I suppose we could have, when I'm thinking about it, random string, we didn't need to join them. I'm gonna try something actually here. We're gonna take a quick detour from the base 64. I'm gonna try. So I'm going to first take my range, and I'm just going to assign it as a variable. So range is equal to that. I want to get the range. So it's a list of numbers, right? I want to get 5 random. So range gets random dash count, we'll say 10 actually. So I get 10 numbers. And then I want to, instead of using the formatter, I want to use the encoding. So let's say it's going to be system.text.encoding. So this is the class, and I put it in square brackets. UTF-8, the static member, .get string. And I want to say or actually I can just put in, I'll just put in the whole range because why not? Will this work? Oh, it works. So range is considered a list element, and I pass it into get UTF-8.getString, and then it just gives us this here. So we actually don't even need join. I would imagine that join is more efficient, but we'll leave it like this for now so you can see how piping kind of works. But we will look at some more system.text.encoding stuff. So we first get the bytes, right? And then now that we have the bytes, we can then encode from bytes. So encode, and we say encoded is equal to system.convert This is a class colon to base 64 string, and then we're just passing in the bytes list. And then from here we converting back from base 64 into, and then we write it to the output. Decoded. And then as with before, we're going to say export dash module member decoded. And then we'll put this function in the usage. All right. So let's try and use all these functions. So we have just a quick recap. Again, the implementation of these functions isn't too important. I'm just trying to show you what. That didn't work because it's not a function. But if I were to say write output, would that work? I don't know. That's not working. But we're going to take this B64 encode function and we're going to overload, copy it. And we're going to accept no parameters this time. And instead of, okay, so I think that is a C# function that I have used before. But I'm going to write the input to the 0. Okay, perfect. So start by saying all right, so we're going to return object at the end. So if the object.length, so if the string here length of 0, then we need to assign it the default value. And if default and module, something's wrong. There's syntax errors. What is the problem? Let me try commenting this out to see. Let's try. I'm just gonna try and see where the control flow is going.